When someone tries to use your past against you, what they are really seeking is not to remind you of who you were, but to make you doubt who you are now. They do it to touch a wound, not to understand it. And that's where many fall. They defend themselves, they explain, they justify. But the power is not in defending yourself. It's in remaining silent and at peace, knowing that what you were no longer defines you. The Stoic understands that the past is a tool, not a prison. What you lived was not a stain, it was a lesson. Each mistake was a direct instruction from destiny to mold you, not to destroy you. Therefore, when someone brings it up with the intention of humiliating you, all they demonstrate is their need to see you in the same place where you are no longer. Maturity consists of not fighting for an old version of you. You have changed, you have learned, and that is enough. Responding with wisdom does not mean staying silent out of fear, but speaking if necessary from control and calm. Because whoever masters their reaction demonstrates evolution. You don't need to shout your growth, it's enough to show it in the way you don't get upset. If your past was a storm, today you are the sea that learned to calm itself. That is true strength, to look straight at what you were without shame and to look at who tries to use it against you without resentment. Because you are no longer at war with your history. And when you are no longer, no one can use it as a weapon. That is the point where power changes hands, where the external noise is turned off, and only the serenity of those who have made peace with themselves remains. Accept your past calmly. Imagine a warrior returning from the battlefield covered in scars. Some look at him with pride, others with contempt, but he seeks neither approval nor denial. He simply observes his marks and understands that each one tells a story, a lesson that shaped him. This is how your past should be seen, not as a burden, but as the map of the paths you had to travel to get where you are. Each mistake was a wound, yes, but it was also a teacher. And if you learn to look at your scars with serenity, no one will be able to use them against you again. Accepting your past calmly does not mean justifying it or forgetting it. It means recognizing it without letting it control you. The problem is that many live trying to hide what they were, as if denying what they lived could erase the memory. But the past does not erase, it transforms. What yesterday caused you shame today can be the root of your strength. Stoicism teaches that what has already occurred is beyond your control, and resisting that is a form of useless suffering. Only when you accept the facts as they were, without embellishments or excuses, do you free yourself from the power those memories have over you. When someone tries to use your past against you, remember this: what they are trying to do is not show you, it's to provoke you. They seek a reaction, not an explanation. They expect to see you fall into the old habit of justifying yourself, of defending yourself, of proving that you have changed. But you don't have to do it. Your serenity will be the strongest response, because whoever has forgiven their own past feels no need to convince anyone. The one who lives in peace with their history does not need to hide it, because they understand that without it, there would be no growth. Acceptance is not surrender, it is understanding. Understanding that the decisions you made then were the ones you could make with the awareness you had at that time, that the person you were was doing the best they knew with what they had. Accepting this is an act of compassion with yourself, and that compassion becomes strength. Whoever forgives themselves cannot be manipulated by guilt, and whoever understands themselves no longer seeks to be understood by everyone. There are those who will remind you of your mistakes because they cannot bear to see you at peace with them. They need you to continue in debt with your past, to feel superior. Don't give them that power. Every time someone mentions what you did, breathe and internally thank that you are no longer in that place. The past stops hurting when it no longer has control over your present. And that happens the day you choose not to run away from it anymore, but to look it in the eyes and say, "Thank you for teaching me." That calm, that deep acceptance is a form of wisdom. It's not about forgetting, but integrating. Each painful memory, each mistake, each moment in which you were wrong was part of the process that led you to grow. There is no light without darkness, nor maturity without stumbling. When you understand that, your story ceases to be a cause for shame and becomes a cause for quiet pride. Accepting your past calmly is one of the greatest acts of freedom that exist. Because as long as you keep fighting with what you were, you will remain chained to it. But when you embrace it, when you assimilate it with serenity, you become the owner of your narrative. No one can use against you something that you have already made part of your strength. That's what the Stoic understands. The past does not change, but the way you carry it does, and whoever learns to carry their history with dignity also learns to live with power. Do not give your power to anyone. Imagine that you are holding a lit torch in the middle of the darkness. Its light represents your inner power, that strength that you have built with years of struggle, learning, and overcoming mistakes. But it is enough for someone to provoke you, judge you, or mention your past, for you to extend your hand and give them the torch. They did not earn it, you let it go. This is how most people lose their power, not because someone takes it away, but because they give it away when they react. When you allow the words of others to control your emotions, you are signing your emotional surrender without realizing it. In life, there will be people who cannot stand to see you calm. They cannot stand your silence because it forces them to listen to their own noise. These people will look for your weak point, and nothing is easier for them than to attack what once hurt you. If they mention your past, they do not do it to understand you. They do it to destabilize you. They do it because they need to see you lose control to feel important. But the truth is that no one has power over you unless you give it to them. The provocation only works if you react. Not giving your power away is to remain calm when everything pushes you to lose it. It is to look at the attempt of manipulation with a cool mind, knowing that whoever provokes is showing their own disorder. Serenity is disconcerting because it cannot be manipulated. That is the essence of inner mastery, that your emotional center does not depend on the chaos of others. Every time you choose not to respond with anger, you regain ground. Every time you choose not to explain what you already understood, you reinforce your authority. There is no more powerful defense than calm indifference to provocation. The common mistake is to think that remaining silent is weakness, but it is not. Conscious silence is power. It is to look at someone who tries to drag you into the past and tell them without words, "You no longer control me," because if you react, you are confirming that they can still touch you. If you explain yourself, you are showing that their opinion still matters to you. And if you get angry, you are showing that you still do not master your emotions. True control is not in responding louder, but in not needing to do so. Society teaches you that you must defend yourself, that you have to prove your truth. But the Stoic does not seek to convince, he seeks peace. And peace only exists where there is no need to prove anything. When you know who you are, what others think ceases to have value. Your inner power grows in silence, in those small daily decisions where you choose not to react. In those moments where someone wants to see if it still hurts and you just smile. Because there is no longer a wound, only learning. Not giving your power away also means not subordinating your worth to external validation. If someone needs to remind you of your mistakes to feel superior, they are revealing their fragility, not yours. Power changes hands when you do not enter their game. When you decide that your energy is not wasted on empty arguments. When you prefer to keep your balance rather than being right. That self-control is not coldness, it is emotional maturity. It is the demonstration that you are no longer a hostage to circumstances, but a master of yourself. 3. Turn your mistakes into wisdom. There are people who carry their mistakes as if they were stones. They bend under the weight of the past and move forward with their backs hunched by guilt. Others use those same stones to build a new path, firmer, wiser. That's the difference between those who get stuck in what was and those who understand that every fall was a teacher disguised as a mistake. Mistakes are not the end of the road. They are part of the training that prepares you to live with more clarity. What hurt you before can become the basis of your strength if you choose to learn instead of lamenting. When someone tries to use your mistakes against you, they are not really talking about you. They are projecting their need to feel superior to someone else. Those who live in anticipation of others' mistakes do so to avoid facing their own. But you are no longer the same person who made those mistakes. And if you have learned from them, those moments have ceased to be weaknesses and have transformed into weapons of wisdom. The past does not embarrass you when you use it as a source of growth. No one can defeat the one who transforms their fall into knowledge. Turning mistakes into wisdom is an act of maturity and courage. It is accepting that pain was part of the process, that wrong decisions taught you what no advice could have done. The Stoic does not seek to erase his history. He observes it, analyzes it, and extracts the necessary lessons from it. This is how he strengthens himself, because he knows that true evolution occurs when you stop punishing what you were and start learning from it. There is no failure when there is learning. If you look back with resentment, you relive the wound. If you look back with understanding, you gain power. That understanding does not come immediately. It appears when you stop asking why and start asking what for. Every mistake has a purpose, although you don't always see it instantly. Maybe that person who disappointed you came to teach you to set boundaries. Maybe that wrong decision showed you what you really value. Maybe that loss was the shake you needed to wake up. Don't punish yourself for what you did. Punish yourself only if you learn nothing from it. Every time you regret something, remember that regret only has value if you use it as a driving force to improve. Otherwise, it becomes a dead-end circle where you mentally repeat the same mistakes. Wisdom arises when you manage to separate pain from learning, when you can look at the past without emotion and see only the lesson it leaves behind. Whoever mocks your mistakes does not understand that they made you stronger. What once embarrassed you may be just what makes you different today. People who grow are not those who never fail, but those who turn every stumble into momentum. If you fell, if you failed, if you took a wrong path, don't hide it. Be grateful, because now you see what you couldn't see before. That is the essence of growth, not to eliminate the imperfect, but to transform it into wisdom. Every mistake is a message from destiny disguised as an obstacle. If you interpret it correctly, it becomes a guide. If you reject it, it repeats until you learn. The Stoic understands that the past is not regretted, it is studied. Every wrong decision makes him wiser, more stable, more human. And when someone tries to use your mistakes against you, look at them calmly. 4. Respond with serenity. Responding with serenity is like holding a flame in the middle of the wind without letting it go out. The natural impulse is to protect it with your hands, to react strongly. But the real mastery is in allowing the air to blow without fear of losing the fire. This is how calm works when someone tries to provoke you or use your past against you. Most people react, defend themselves, raise their voices, seek to have the last word. However, the Stoic understands that serenity is not passivity, it is contained strength, disciplined energy. Those who know how to control themselves do not need to impose themselves. Provocations are inevitable. There will always be someone who seeks to awaken your anger or touch a wound that they thought was still open. But when you have worked on yourself, when you have already made peace with your history, these provocations stop affecting you. What used to hurt you now only makes you reflect. Whoever mentions your past to hurt you does so because they cannot bear to see that you have already overcome it. They expect to see you upset, anxious, annoyed, justifying yourself. But when you respond with calm, you disarm their intention. There is no greater form of control than maintaining serenity while others lose theirs. Responding with serenity does not mean always staying quiet, but choosing your words from balance. It is speaking firmly, but without anger. It is saying what is necessary, not what is impulsive. People confuse serenity with weakness, but conscious silence is more powerful than any argument. When the other person shouts and you keep your tone low, their voice becomes ridiculous in front of your stability. Self-control is disconcerting because no one expects calm in the middle of conflict. Serenity is an invisible blow that does not seek to hurt, but to show mastery. The secret is to understand that not everything deserves a response. Sometimes silence says more than any phrase. If you respond with anger, you validate the attack. If you explain too much, you give away your power. If you get upset, you show that they can still manipulate you. But if you remain calm, if your breathing remains stable and your gaze firm, you project authority. Your serenity speaks for you. People who live in chaos cannot understand those who live in order, so they try to drag you down. Do not allow it. Do not lower yourself to others' noise. The Stoic responds with serenity because they know that self-control is the basis of all strength. Whoever cannot master their emotion will be dominated by it. And whoever reacts from impulse always loses. The real victory is not in humiliating the other or winning arguments, but in keeping a clear mind while the environment is agitated. If you get upset, the enemy wins without effort. If you keep calm, their strategy fails. It is built every time you choose not to respond to provocation, every time you breathe before speaking, every time you decide to maintain dignity over emotion. Responding with serenity is a form of self-love because it protects your energy, your balance, and your purpose. People can say what they want, but your emotions only belong to you. If someone uses your past to provoke you and you respond with calm, you have just shown that you are no longer the same. You have exchanged reactivity for wisdom, anger for mastery, and the need to be right for the desire to maintain peace. That is what makes you powerful. The ability to keep the flame lit without letting the wind control it. 5. Question their intentions. When someone brings up your past, they're not always trying to understand you. Sometimes they just want to see you wobble. It's like they're handing you a box wrapped in sweet words, but inside there's only poison. The key is not to open it right away, but to observe who's giving it and why. Questioning others' intentions is not distrust, it's wisdom. Because not all conversations are born out of a desire to understand you. Many are born out of a desire to control you. The Stoic does not rush into provocations. First observes, analyzes, and then decides whether it's worth responding. When someone uses your past as a weapon, their real goal is not to remind you of your mistakes, but to test if you're still vulnerable to them. They want to see if it hurts you, if you react, if you still depend on others' opinion to validate your growth. It's a game disguised as interest, but their intention is not to dialogue, but to manipulate. Always ask yourself, what does this person seek with their words? Do they intend to build or destroy? If what they say does not contribute to your peace, it does not deserve your energy. The common mistake is to react without thinking. We believe we should clarify everything, explain every past decision, justify every mistake. But that's exactly what those who use your history against you want, for you to wear yourself out, trying to prove that you've changed. True evolution is not explained. It's shown in calmness, in consistency, and in the firmness with which you maintain your balance in the face of provocation. When someone tries to revive your past, what they're really showing is their own need to remain in it. Questioning their intentions allows you to maintain control. It keeps you from the impulse to respond and brings you closer to the clarity of someone who sees beyond words. Ask yourself, does this person seek understanding or power? Do they come with empathy or ego? Do they want to converse or provoke? These questions bring you back to the center because they force you to think before acting. The Stoic never gives up their serenity without analyzing the context. And when they understand that behind every comment there's an intention, they wisely decide whether it's worth continuing the conversation. Not every attack deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Those who have truly made peace with their history do not need to debate with those who live off feeding on others' past. Questioning others' intentions is not being cold, it's protecting your energy. If you respond to everything, you wear out your mind. If you choose when to respond, you demonstrate mastery. The next time someone tries to use your past as a weapon, don't rush. Look calmly, think and smile internally. If what they seek is to hurt you, their frustration will be your silent victory. Because when you don't fall into their game, you show that you're no longer playing at the same level. 6. Value yourself for who you are today. There are people who will try to remind you of who you were, as if your worth was trapped in the most broken version of you. It's as if they show you an old photograph and tell you that you are still that image, not realizing that you are no longer that person, that you grew, changed, evolved. But the biggest mistake you can make is to believe them. If you base your worth on how the past sees you or how others judge you, you will continue to be a prisoner of a story that no longer exists. Valuing who you are today means recognizing yourself from consciousness and not from guilt. Every experience, every mistake, every blow shaped you. However, the world prefers to remind you of your shadows rather than your steps towards the light. Not because they care about your story, but because it is easier for them to pigeonhole you in what you were than to accept the growth that makes them uncomfortable. Change bothers those who never had the courage to transform themselves. Therefore, when you are confronted with your past, do not defend or justify yourself. Simply remember that what you were was necessary to get here. If someone insists on seeing you as before, the problem is not your story, it is their perspective. Valuing who you are today implies stopping seeking validation in the eyes of others. The external opinion is volatile. It changes according to the convenience of the speaker. Today, they can applaud you and tomorrow use your achievements to ridicule you. That's why the Stoic does not base his value on approval, but on the consistency between what he thinks, feels, and does. If you know what you have overcome, if you know the price you paid for your growth, you no longer need to convince anyone. Self-respect is not begged for. It is built in silence and demonstrated with actions. When someone tries to use your past to belittle you, remember that what they are attacking is not your present, but their inability to accept your change. There are those who feel threatened by your evolution because it reminds them of their stagnation. Do not let their judgments make you go back to a place that you have already overcome. Your transformation does not need to be explained, just sustained. Showing maturity is not justifying your change. It is maintaining it even in the face of criticism. The key is to observe yourself with new eyes every day. You are not who you were 5 years ago, not even who you were yesterday. Every day you have chosen to improve in something. Learn, let go, move forward. This constant evolution is your true value. No one can measure you by your falls when you keep getting up stronger. The past can be part of your story, but it is not your identity. Your value is not written in the mistakes you made, but in the times you had the courage to face them. Value yourself for who you are today, because this moment is the result of all the battles you overcame when no one believed you would make it. Every scar is proof of your resilience. Every change of course demonstrates your wisdom. Do not let the judgments of others make you forget the work you did to heal. The Stoic lives from the present, not from the labels of the past. Whoever knows and values himself does not need to shout his change. He reflects it in his calm. You are not what you did, you are what you chose to learn. And when that truth settles within you, no one has the power to make you feel less. Because only those who do not value themselves seek others to do it. And you are no longer at that stage. Now you are the reflection of your growth, not of your guilt. 7. Don't take attacks personally. Every time someone attacks you, they do it from their own wound, not from the truth. It's as if they throw a stone at you, but that stone doesn't come from who you are, but from the weight they carry. Understanding this changes everything, because when you understand that most attacks reflect frustration, envy, or someone else's pain, you stop reacting. What used to hurt you now gives you information. The person trying to belittle you is revealing their inner state, not yours. That's why when someone uses your past to hit you, they're actually showing how little they understand their own present. Taking attacks personally is like picking up emotional garbage that doesn't belong to you. You get dirty, trying to understand why they threw something at you that was never yours. The Stoic knows that other people's opinions do not define their worth. What they say doesn't change you. What you believe about yourself does. Most people don't attack because they're right, but because they're looking for a reaction. And the moment you respond with anger or unnecessary explanations, they've got you where they wanted, under their emotional control. The power is in not taking anything personally, because by doing so you disarm the intention of those who seek to disturb you. When someone criticizes you, judges you, or mentions your past with a mocking tone, stop for a second and look at them without emotion. Ask yourself what leads them to act this way. Maybe they can't stand to see you calm. Maybe your progress bothers them. Or they simply can't deal with their own reflection when they see you surpass them. What others say about you is a comment about them, not about you. If you understand this, the provocation loses effect. Serenity is a form of invisible defense that disarms them without the need for words. Not taking attacks personally is not indifference. It's emotional intelligence. It's refusing to enter into others' drama. It's looking at the provocation from a distance, knowing that conflict only grows when someone feeds it. If you don't, it dies. Calmness confuses, disconcerts, and in the end, shows power. When you don't react, the aggressor runs out of energy, because their attack only made sense if you received it. You can't control what others say, but you can control the value you give to their words. Each person lives from their level of consciousness. Some are still fighting with their past and need to project it onto others. Others simply can't stand to see strength where they feel weakness. That's why they attack. That's why they judge. That's why they dig into what you were. But if you know who you are today, if you've made peace with your history, their words can't touch you. Only the attacks you find credible hurt. If you no longer believe that old version of yourself, the words that try to revive it dissolve in the air. Learning not to take offenses personally is one of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism. Because mastery is not in avoiding attacks, but in not allowing them to alter your peace. The next time someone provokes you, don't respond from emotion. Breathe, observe, and remember. That person is only showing their disorder, not yours. Stand firm. Calmness is your armor and serenity your response. No word can hurt you if you decide not to make it yours. That is true control, not letting others' shadows extinguish your light. 8. Protect your inner peace. When the storm rages, you don't run to stop the rain or calm the thunder. You take shelter, wait, and understand that nothing lasts forever. That is inner peace. A refuge that does not depend on the external weather, but on the strength you have built within you. Protecting it is not isolating yourself from the world. It is learning not to allow what happens outside to break you inside. People will try to take you out of your center, provoke you, drag you into their chaos, but your task is to stand firm, without letting their noise drown your calm. Inner peace is lost when you give others the power to alter your mental state. Every time you respond from anger or frustration, you are letting someone else drive your emotions. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about understanding that your serenity cannot depend on the behavior of others. The Stoic knows that what happens outside of his control does not deserve to dominate his interior. Whoever manages to dominate their mind does not need to control anyone else. Protecting your peace means choosing your battles. Not all are worth your energy, not all deserve your time. Some discussions are born only to wear you out, to distract you from your path, to make you lose clarity. When someone tries to use your past as a weapon, remember that you don't have to participate in that war. It's an invitation to a conflict that doesn't belong to you. Staying calm is rejecting that game. It's showing that your well-being is not for sale. Peace is also protected with silence. Not everything needs a response. Silence, when it comes from mastery, is not weakness, it's strategy. It confuses, disarms, and above all, preserves you. Speaking from calm is an art, but silence from understanding is wisdom. Sometimes the best way to maintain peace is to let the noise of the other drown itself out. Whoever screams seeks reaction. Whoever provokes seeks control. When you don't respond, the energy dissolves. The power returns to you. Protecting your peace doesn't mean living without emotions. It means not being a slave to them. Emotions are inevitable, but your reaction is a choice. When you feel attacked and choose to breathe instead of explode, you are asserting your dominance. When you choose to let go instead of taking revenge, you are showing that you have learned to prioritize yourself. Inner peace is not something that is achieved once. It is a daily practice, a mental discipline that requires constant vigilance. The current world is designed to steal your calm. News networks, conflicts, opinions. Everything pushes you to react, to opine, to fight. But the real power is in staying focused on your center. When you decide that your well-being is more important than being right, you become free. Because you are no longer dragged by chaos, criticism, or attempts at manipulation. You are present, firm and aware that no one deserves the price of your peace. Protecting your inner peace is a form of respect for yourself. It's knowing when to retreat, when to be silent, when to choose yourself. It's understanding that tranquility is not found outside, it's cultivated within. Every time you choose to remain calm in the face of provocation, you are building an invisible fortress that no one can touch. That fortress is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to remain at peace amid the noise. Whoever masters that, masters life. Because the real victory is not in defeating the other, but in not losing yourself. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment, "I am Stoic," as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.